Hello, everybody. This is Patrick Monaghan of Foreign Football Forecast. Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Brandt Bronico, professional footballer. Brandt, looks like you're chilling over there. Looks nice, sunny. Don't know. Wish we had that in North Carolina, but it's all right.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Just hanging out down in Louisiana right now. Obviously, wish I was still in the MLS playoffs, but sometimes it's just how it goes. But yeah, happy to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Brandt. So, basically, we're going to cover two things today. We're going to talk a little bit about MLS playoffs, and we're going to discuss fans coming back to the Premier League. I already mentioned kind of the MLS playoffs. I think we can sort of get right into that. How does it feel from your perspective when you've been playing and you see, not making it? How do you guys prepare for that? And do you kind of already get into a next season's mentality when you were doing that? Or was it like taking some time off to kind of rest and recuperate?
I think it's just kind of like a balance of both. When we it came down to like the last game for us, and unfortunately, we couldn't get the job done. Um, but once that season ends, it's important to kind of just take a week or two, to yourself or just away from the game. Your body's been through a lot through the whole season, and your body needs to recover. Your mind needs to recover. So kind of just giving your body and mind that crucial rest that it needs is extremely important. But then after those 2 weeks, it's go time. It's getting back into it, getting back to it, getting your body prepared for the next preseason. And that it's like 10, 11 months. So it's important to prepare yourself for that.
Does it also affect it when you're having like maybe a shorter, kind of off season as well? Because I think one thing with the MLS that always made it odd to me was it's at such a different period than other competitions. So it does kind of give you a little more rest, it seems like, but it's also kind of like you said, you can't. I just feel like you can't go right back into like that mentality again. You've been going in for months. You've been playing what 30, 35 games or something along those lines. I just don't see how it'd be possible to go and have that same mentality really like the whole year. I just don't think that'd be possible.
Yeah, I mean, usually, this year's a little different, but usually it's 34 regular season games, and then you have U.S. Open Cup, and if the team qualifies for the CONCACAF Champions League, you have those games. And then you have preseason like friendly games, and then if you make playoffs, you have those games. So it could be up to as much as like 45, 50 games in in a calendar year. And like I said, it definitely takes a toll on your body. And kind of going back to the rest period, like it's definitely important to take those 1 to 2 weeks off, just because your body, you have a whole nother season, and you don't want your body to get injured. Like, you don't want to get injured. So you want to make sure you're doing the right things, you're eating the right things, and you're putting the right things in your body during that rest period, and then just getting back into it and preparing your body for the next 10 to 12 months.
Okay. And when like I've noticed too, you're talking about how you guys just barely miss out. How do you guys handle that playoff push? Are you guys already preparing for that, or what happens, say, if you've gone on, say, a really strong run and you suddenly find yourself towards the end of the season in the playoff picture, and maybe you started the season kind of poor? How do you guys prepare for that when you're looking at having a really strong push towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's just the main thing is just kind of taking it game by game and not looking too far into the future, and not kind of trying to not focus on playoffs. Sorry, it's my my dog. um, but yeah, kind of just like like I said, just focus on game by game and not focusing on too far ahead, because if you get caught up too far ahead, you know you're gonna miss the games in front of you. um, and it does have a lot to do with momentum as well. Like, like, you win one game, you win two games, and then you're next thing you know, you win in 5, 6 games in a row. Um, and that, I think that's very important. And I feel like that's kind of what we lacked, is that we couldn't string 3, 4, 5 wins together. Because I mean, 10 to 15 points makes a huge difference. especially with this year, make it so many teams making playoffs. Um, so yeah, just kind of taking it game by game and gaining that momentum towards the playoff push.
Does it make it harder too, knowing that, you guys made the playoffs, what, in 2017, right?
Yeah.
So, from 2017 to now, they've added what, like 4 or 5 new clubs to the MLS, correct? Or something along that line. Does that make an impact too, where you're having significantly more competition? I know it's newer clubs, it's Inter Miami or it's, Cincinnati or whatever. But does that have an impact too? Because, you're facing maybe a little bit tougher competition, especially with someone like Inter Miami. They acquired, Higuain, they acquired Pizarro, teams like that have kind of, splashed a lot of cash trying to instantly compete.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think obviously you want to be the best team. So you're not necessarily one, like you can't really control the other competition, you know? So I think the more competition, the better, because you want to show that you're the best team, and the more teams that you can beat, the more chance you have to show that you can be the best team. So I don't think it affects it too much. I mean, I think it's very good for the growth of the league, and kind of gaining that following from U.S. fans, and fans throughout the world. And even players like throughout the world that want to come over and play in MLS. I think it's very important for the growth of the league, and I welcome like more new teams coming into the league. I think it's important for the MLS in general.
It'll be interesting too. We've got, Chicago coming in, got Seattle, Minnesota, and then you got Columbus, New England. And I mean, Minnesota only came in, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. Seattle's been a mainstay. Then you got Columbus and New England. And like you said, you've got new clubs coming in. Got Charlotte coming in, I believe, next season as well. I mean, I agree with you. I think the more competition you're bringing in, I think that's actually helping not only the level of play. I know we could touch on, promotion, relegation. That's something that would probably take like 10 hours. So not even going to touch that. But when you look at the level of clubs that we've got coming in, and I think the MLS has transitioned into a league of developing really good young players. Obviously, we've seen, a ton of Americans playing in Champions League. That's great. But we've also given an option to a lot of Americans able to just stay in the US and really excel, and not even just Americans. I mean, I was talking with some friends of mine that are Venezuelan, and you've seen Martinez over with, Atlanta United. You've seen guys coming in. I forget the name of the guy with Inter Miami that is from Argentina, but
Pellegrini, I think.
yeah, they've had an incredible amount of talent coming in, and I think that's been the benefit is the MLS has kind of shifted its focus towards more of a development and retaining players. And from a competition side, we've got already kind of some ingrained rivalries, and that's one of the other things that I've noticed that's been good. You see new derbies popping up, but you see old derbies that have been around too. So I think that helps the intensity. It's like, for example, with you, say you guys were playing, came down to you and Columbus Crew, or something along those lines. I think that does add to the motivation as well, and I think that does help players perform a little better.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, you have Austin FC coming in next year. Then you have Charlotte coming in 22, and then in 23 you got Sacramento and St. Louis coming in. And yeah, it definitely adds to the rivalries and the derbies that come with all those teams coming into the league. And like you said, it gives a lot of younger players an opportunity to stay here and grow and develop in these MLS academies, as opposed to having to go over to, say, Germany at a young age to develop. Now they can stay locally, stay with their families, and develop through these clubs, that give them an opportunity.
I think so. And then, you also got experience coming over too. I know you had played with Bastian, you had played with some others. Does that level of experience, not only say from MLS, but also experience from Europe, does that help you guys as well with, preparing for a longer season, or maybe you're getting a little bit, down on yourself or discouraged? Does that help to have players that have played at a high level and have been able to impart some wisdom.
Locally, I mean, like I said, like Dax McCarty helped me a lot. Schweinsteiger helped me a lot. Just these older players that have played at a high level, and that come over or that are already here, help a lot of these younger guys like me or like I was, and guys coming up through the academies. It definitely helps them prepare, and they can kind of teach them the stuff that they wish they had learned or the stuff they had learned when they were younger players.
I think that's helpful too because you're not, it's like, okay, maybe you're feeling a little down, but to be able to have somebody that's been at the highest level, you do get that help. And I think especially with the way the MLS has shifted, like we've talked about, it's been a really good balance. But I don't know, and I'm really not quite sure what's going to happen in the playoffs. I was watching the other day. I was actually with a friend of mine from Dallas, and he was he was hyping up FC Dallas. He was like, "Oh, they're going to win," and I'm like, "All right, bro, let me see it. Come over there." It was pretty good, but I don't know. I've the Sounders are they're a tough team. I know you had done some work with them, and you were playing a couple years ago. That the Sounders, to me, they're one of the toughest teams to play. I think it's going to be Seattle, and I think it's going to be Seattle Columbus. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the MLS, any team can beat any other team on any given day.
Hmm.
It's a little different dynamic than say the Premier League where you have those top, or I guess maybe had, but those top like 4 or 5 teams that are like almost guaranteed to win or finish at the top of the table like every season. In the MLS, it's different. Like any team can be very good on any given day. So I like I think yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the Sounders are a great team. They're even talking about them being an MLS dynasty, just with them winning the MLS Cup the past, I think it was like three of the last 4 years. Um, so obviously they're going to be an extremely tough team to beat. They're a great playoff team. And then yeah, I think Columbus is a good call, but I wouldn't count out the Revolution. I mean, they've shown a lot. Even
Yeah, they
coming in
have.
as like the eighth seed, they've shown a lot going through these past couple of games. Playing away at Orlando, they had a great performance, and they have some great players on that team as well. And I feel like they have really good team camaraderie. And then, like I said, they have that momentum. They strung together a bunch of games, and that momentum it might be able to push them past Columbus. So I mean, you never know in the MLS playoffs. Columbus is obviously a great team as well. Um, so I think that one might be a little closer, but I wouldn't count out the Revolution.
I don't think you can because you know what you talked about everything with motive with just kind of like you get sort of this determination and then you get this momentum. And the thing is the MLS, that's one thing I've always noticed is it's like you said, anyone can beat anyone. You don't feel like, oh, I'm coming in and I'm say New England, okay, I have no chance.
Yeah,
That's the benefit of it is that it's a more balanced play. Seattle's really strong, but like again, I wouldn't say like, oh, Minnesota doesn't have a chance or anything because
yeah.
it's
No, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
that's the benefit of it is it's not like say like Champions League for example when you're looking at it and it's like okay, obviously I've been watching Madrid, we've been awful, but it's like at least you can see okay, playing Shakhtar, I've got two legs. Thing is with the MLS too, you go and you get the semifinals and then you get to the finals. That's kind of why I like the playoff kind of notion of it is it sort of evens the playing field. With I've noticed with all sports, when you have a playoff, it does balance things out because you could come in and say you were playing against, we'll say the Crew, say you were playing against them and they had were really tough. They had maybe say one of the best defenses in the league. I feel like because it's coming in and you have momentum and say you're coming in and it's the playoffs is something totally different. It's not to
Yeah,
say that, you go and have the regular season just to get to that point. The playoffs, it's like I feel like it's something totally different.
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And you don't get that with, we're talking about the Premier League. I don't know. I think we're talking about, fans, being able to come back with that. I think it's going to have an impact more on the bottom side of the table than it is on the top. I That's just me personally, because if you're looking at it, it's mainly the clubs from London. I think that's going to go and be able to push maybe some of the bottom sides like Palace or Fulham. I think that might give them, during this period at least, the extra push to maybe be able to get themselves a little bit of a cushion. But if I'm, say, Sheffield or Burnley and I can't have fans and I've been playing just really, really poorly, I don't know. And that's something I wonder from you guys' perspective is, does having fans, you think, is that going to go and be a huge impact, or do you think it's going to be maybe a huge impact at for a little bit of time, but then maybe start to even out?
No, I think supporters, they definitely make the world of a difference being in the stadium, um, especially when it comes down to home field advantage. When you're playing, like when for me, like when we're playing away, it's so much tougher when the fans are there as opposed to when the fans are not there for the opposing team. Um, just because, it's like it's so noisy, it's so loud. Um, the fans, they're always chirping away at you whenever you're like near the sideline or getting the ball or something. And also like having all those people behind you and having that energy behind you, it can push you in like, I don't know to say, like some like spiritual or like magical way, it's
It
just that,
can though.
yeah, it's just that energy that's in there. And I think supporters coming back, I think you're right. I mean, I think the supporters coming back in the Premier League as some of those sides that it's like don't have as much money or haven't spent as much money as some of those teams on the top part of the table. I think it will definitely be able to push them and kind of give them that energy that they need to maybe get a couple results that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten if the fans weren't there.
It's the intangible side, like what you talked about. It's able to push you forward, I think, in a way that you just kind of can't explain it, but it's inexplicable. But I do think it has that impact because, like you said, if you're coming in and you've been playing, you're like kind of down on yourself. You haven't been playing that well. The side's been kind of de-animated or whatever. But then to be able to come in and you've got 2,000 fans, every one of those fans that's going to be coming into, those fans are going to be hardcore. That's going to be 2,000 fans, but that's going to feel like a lot more, I think, especially if you're going in and you've got, say, I've got 2,000 fans with Fulham, and then another side, say, like Wolverhampton, that's not going to have fans. I think that's going to be something that might be able to kind of push the needle and give Fulham that, or a side like Fulham, that ability to get 1 point or even 3 points when they wouldn't normally been able to do it. And it does, you talked about momentum earlier too. I think that's going to be really helpful with momentum, because if you're coming in and you've got people, everybody's singing, everybody's shouting, everybody's in one kind of connection and trying to push everything towards their side, I think it's going to have an impact. I don't think as much at top table, because I think if I'm, say, Leicester City or somebody like that, I think that those sides are already in kind of a championship push mentality. But I think it'll be a little more on the lower side of the table. But that's just my perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing is having fans there after not having them there for so long.
Mm-hmm.
What is another, I mean, I feel like that's another intangible to look at. It's just, I just feel like it's going to make a world of a difference. Being able to play in front of uh, supporters that care so much about the club and the players at the club.
It's going to be a really big impact, especially say you're going in, it's Champions League, for example, too. What if you got Champions League and Europa League coming in as well? It's going to be interesting. Personally, I don't know if it's going to have much of an impact on the championship, but I don't know, because one thing I've been noticing the last couple matches is a certain side, like kind of like Leicester, almost compare them to a side like how you guys were, where when you have a lot of momentum at first, but then sometimes you have one or two like rough stretches, and then you're trying to go and regain that momentum again. I've noticed they're the type of side that's been like that, where, or even like they haven't had that consistency of say Chelsea. I know you're, a Chelsea supporter. My brother's a big Chelsea supporter, and we're watching, and sides like that, I think that's what's going to make the world of difference is who's going to have the consistency at the end of the day. I think the fans are going to be able to make a big impact on that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I definitely think so as well.
Any predictions for who's going to win the league?
Yeah, I think Chelsea's going to win the league. I
Fair
mean, you
point.
look at like all the money they spent this offseason, or offseason. I just feel like, I mean, once they catch form and these guys keep playing together, and they start learning each other's movements like throughout the season even more, I just feel like they're going to be unstoppable. And I mean, I guess if you look at a team like Tottenham right now as well, who's, I mean, unbeaten in the last 9 games. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's another side to look out for. But I think it might come down to those two, and maybe Liverpool. I don't know. I mean, they won it last season. They dealt with a lot of injuries. Van Dijk he's hurt. I mean, he's done for at least most of the season, and that's their main guy in the back. It's just gonna be tough for them. I think Chelsea and Liverpool. It's gonna come down to those two.
I
I mean,
want to be
Chelsea and Tottenham. Sorry, Chelsea and Tottenham.
I want to be able to switch and say that, but I'm gonna get too clowned if I go against it. I kind of have to say Liverpool. I really don't want to, and I don't. At this point, I don't even think so. But I'm gonna just go with it for consistency. I think if anything, though, you would see Chelsea's going to be more of a rival than Tottenham. Because with Tottenham, one thing I noticed is I wonder how much that weighs on them when you're like you have fans and like criticism all the time of people saying you've been cursed, you can't finish, you can't close it out. Like, I wonder how they respond to something like that when you're constantly being told towards the end of the season, you're playing really, really well. You're thinking, okay, cool, we're going to be able to do something, and you always kind of can't finish. I wonder if that's going to be something that weighs on them towards the end of the campaign. Because Chelsea's been, winning championships, and Chelsea's been playing really well. They're used to this. They know how to handle the pressure. And I think Chelsea's embraced being not going to say disrespected, but kind of dealing with the criticism. I think Chelsea's always dealt with that much better than, say, Man City, for example.
Yeah.
Both sides have been accused of, okay, they basically bought their team. But with Chelsea, I think the difference is Chelsea's switched towards, okay, yeah, we do buy players, but they've also produced a hell of a lot of talent. Like I was, you watching Tammy Abraham or someone,
Mason
they've got it unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think you're going to be right. I'm going to have to stick with Liverpool, but we'll see.
I hope Chelsea. I hope Chelsea win the league.
If Chelsea win, I'll give you a Chelsea jersey. I'll tell you that. I got you on it.
All right. I guess if Liverpool wins, I owe you a Liverpool jersey then.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, that sounds good.
Thank you, Brandt. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for telling us just some, interesting stories, giving us that sort of mentality and that perspective. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, no problem. Obviously, thanks for having me on. It's always nice talking with you, even back in the UNC Charlotte days.
Yep.
When we on 91st Minute Radio.
The throwback, the flashback Friday for you.
Yeah, always happy to come on, and would love to come on again whenever you choose.
Thank you, Brandt. So you guys can check us out. We're on Foreign Football Forecast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, thank you, Brandt, and hope you have a great day. It's looking nice and sunny, so I hope you guys can go out and, have a little bit of fun today.
Yeah, got some touches to get in, so we'll be at the field today.
Grind never stops.
The grind never stops. See you, man.